intelligence. Please put your hands together. Welcome our guest speaker.
I'm happy to participate and deliver keynote speech in this milestone meeting. To be very specific, I see some other slide coming. Okay.
Sorry, is this the one that you want
to Meraki Advanced Toastmasters Club on the occasion of the 100th milestone. I repeat, I extend my felicitations to Meraki Advanced Toastmasters Club on the occasion of this 100th milestone.
Thank you, sir.
I wish to congratulate all the office bearers, past and present, and all the members at Toastmasters for being the reason for this achievement and status.
Thank you, sir.
I came to know about this club only through Mr. Ashok. I didn't know much. I thought this is another invitation to speak on Zoom during this COVID-19. Of course, there were some very good meetings and some ordinary meetings, and I didn't know that this meeting will be so good, well organized, and very disciplined. First surprise I got was with the memento that I got in advance, courier to me, and the precision with which it was made, and the seriousness that you people have given to make it, I really appreciate. It's really a memento, something which I will keep for very long. So a memorable one. So all that shows that what a different club you are, and my surprise is only increasing with the start of the meeting. The way so far for the last 20 minutes, I am also witnessing how this meeting is going on. The way you conduct the meeting is really very good. I like the idea of the timer and the color. This is the way to adapt to new situations, if not challenges. An excellent arrangement, an indication to you. I am going to talk today about one of my favorite subjects, emotional intelligence. I wish to begin my speech with a question. How successful are you? How successful in absolute terms, also in relative terms, compared to your brothers, sisters, classmates, your colleagues, your neighbors, whomever you can compare yourself with. How do you rate your success? How successful you are?
Comfortably successful.
Fine. So this question is more to just ponder over. What is success? What is success? Some people feel feeling happy is success. Some people feel achievements are success. Winning contests, being praised, recognized. So whatever. So you are all definitely somewhat successful people. You have a lot more to achieve. I'm sure you all will achieve. But so whatever you have so far achieved, what do you think is the reason? What made it possible? And if you think you have not achieved to the extent that you really want, in relative terms or in absolute terms, then what is the limitation? What is limiting it? Is it the education, the experience, the skill sets, communication skills, knowledge? What is the reason for the present level of success, as well as what is the limiting factor for not achieving something more? So like I said, it could be education, experience, skill, communication, or knowledge, or I consciously omitted something so that I can talk about it. That is something else. which we will arrive at. You would have thought sometime or other in your life, meeting some people, talking about somebody, why some people, in spite of having good knowledge and experience, are not successful. Here I don't mean success is only related to one's career or profession. Includes life, happy married life or good parenting or so whatever, being a good corporate citizen or a citizen, responsible person. Why some people, in spite of having good knowledge and experience, are not successful. Also, some people, in spite of hard work and the straightforwardness, they are not recognized. They don't grow as much as they should. Otherwise, in their opinion, they should, but they are not. They are putting in hard work. They are very straightforward, have knowledge. So what could be the reason? There was a study in US some time back, a few decades back. So they wanted to understand this question and the answer for it. And they thought, who's the best in the knowledge or top in IQ? Then they said the most difficult exam is graduate record examination, GRE. Let us take the toppers of that exam, say some 10 years before. At the time of the study, they went back 10 years and took the results of 10-year-old students. Who were the toppers? They got the list. And they wanted to find out after 10 years, where are they, what are they? And of course, as expected, many of them were in good positions, achievers. You would have noticed I said many of them. What I did not say, all of them. Why, in spite of being a topper in GRE, all of them did not make it to a great level or in life, very good position in life. So the question remained and it turned out into another question. They didn't get the answer. Then they thought, let us go and see who did not study well. Let us look at some dropouts in the same country 10 years before. They could manage to get a list and they wanted to see after 10 years, where are these people who were not so good in their school education? Again, as expected, they could not find out all of them. Some of them are in very ordinary, poor condition. Some of them were in prison too. But again, only some of them, not all of them. A few of them from that list, 10-year-old list, were somebody to reckon with in the society, in good positions, very valuable people in the society. Then another question came to their mind that, so even without good education and knowledge or IQ in that matter, people can be successful. And with all this also, one can miss out success in life. I'm reiterating every time, success in life. So therefore, they put both together and arrived at a statement saying that it's not sufficient to have only IQ to be very successful in life. They thought they have answered, then they wanted to know that what is that then common between these two groups? A part of not so good in education and a part of very good in education, the overlap of the circles, that pie, that slice is people with high EQ. Those who are very good in emotional intelligence, with or without education, they make their career well, they make their life well, they are very successful people. And that's the difference that I wanted to touch upon at the beginning of my talk. I asked that what is one more thing that could be the reason as a facilitating or a limiting factor for one's success in the US. There are people who are very intelligent, but they hurt with their jokes They think they are very intelligent, but they hurt. They don't know. People don't tell them that they are hurting. Quick wit, we call it, but it's also a quick hurt. Some people very badly react to criticism. They can't take criticism. Some people are very impatient with their employees, family members. I can go on, quote several behavioral issues. What actually matters is managing people in a society, in an organization, in family, wherever we are. That matters a lot. For which emotional intelligence is very important and useful. People have to manage themselves and manage others. Both are to be managed. Some people are unable to manage themselves. Some people cannot manage others. Center for Creative Leadership came out with a statement after a long study. 75% of careers are derailed for reasons related to emotional incompetence, including inability to handle interpersonal problems, unsatisfactory team leadership during times of difficulty or conflict, or inability to adapt to change, or elicit trust. Daniel Goleman, who popularized the topic emotional intelligence in the 80s, said the single most important factor in job performance and advancement, that's promotion, is emotional intelligence. Single most important factor. What is intelligence? One who wants to be successful in work and life has to be intelligent. And that intelligence includes both cognitive and non-cognitive. It may sound technical, but cognitive is something related to knowledge, etc. Non-cognitive is other than that. Cognitive intelligence is the ability to learn new things, recall information, memory, think rationally, apply knowledge, solve problems. These are what are tested actually in exams, isn't it? Competitive exams. And people are employed. But they say this part of intelligence, the IQ, contributes only 20%. Whereas the non-cognitive intelligence is emotional and social intelligence put together. It refers to an array of emotional, personal, and social abilities and skills. Emotional ability, personal ability and skill, social ability. All these that influence on one's overall abilities to succeed in coping up with what? Environmental demands and pressures. We know of great successful entrepreneurs suddenly hitting headlines for disappearing, for ending their lives. So what happened? Environmental demands and pressures. So the other intelligences are no help. So therefore EQ contributes 80% to a person's success and happiness. So it's not just in career one has to be really successful. He has to be successful in life. That's a purpose. There is a difference. Many of us are able to test only the IQ of people through different battery of tests. But the emotional intelligence is like an iceberg and it's below the sea level, not so visible. When you take a person and also while you interview him, he puts his best face, talks well, responds well to all hypothetical questions. But there is something beneath. That's his emotional makeup. So therefore, we all should become aware, manage, and be successful in managing our emotions and others. Many people think emotions mean only one thing, and that is anger. Anger, of course, is one very powerful, strong, big emotion, but there are many. There are many, but for our understanding, we can put it in some slot. There are 8 basic emotions, all of which play a role at some point of time or other and contribute. Anger, fear. Some people don't even know that they fear. Fear is not frightening for a dog alone. The fear to commit, fear to accept, fear, a lot of fear. I don't want to get into details. Fear, happiness, sadness, love, surprise, disgust, shame. Emotions are real. You deny, nobody is a machine. Nobody is a robot. They are real. They are powerful. Emotions are really powerful. And the last important thing is they are not under full control. It can jump out anytime. One cannot manage and put up for very long. And as many may misconstrue, it's not that the emotions are always bad and only bad. Emotions are often constructive. They actually help us survive. This meeting is happening because there are too many emotional people, charged, passionate people. They help us survive, thrive, and interact well with others. I accept this meeting because I am emotional. Sometimes they can be destructive, and that sometimes is many times in somebody's life. Sometimes they can be destructive. The examples of constructive emotions are achievement, pride, self-worth, self-esteem, acceptance, inclusion, unity, oneness, confidence, calm, drive, persistence, desire, a lot more. Destructive emotions, hostility, irritation, rage, apathy, disrespect, hatred, hopelessness, jealousy, anxiety, negativity, pessimism, skepticism. So one need to become aware. Like I differ in the height, color, age, education, and many things I am different from all of you. You are all different from your colleagues. Similarly, my emotional makeup is different. We are not the same. So, like I know my height, weight, education, my blood pressure, sugar, cholesterol, I should know my emotional makeup. What upsets me? What drives me? What irritates me? And what I do if I am irritated. All that if I know, I control. Else, I witness or I succumb. So we need to become aware, we need to manage, and of course, finally, once we repeatedly do something like Aristotle said, it will become a habit. We'll master it and use it without even being conscious of it. So we need to have emotional intelligence, the one-liner. What is emotional intelligence? To put it in some structure, emotional intelligence is the ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings and emotions. The first part is the ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings and emotions. Are we able to monitor our own and others' emotions as we interact, as we fight, as we demand, as we beg? Do we know what emotion is running in us and how is the other party responding? So the ability, you should develop that ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings and emotions and discriminate among them, to differentiate what is this good, bad, going out of control, useful. Discriminate and use this information to guide one's thinking and actions. So understand discriminate or differentiate and use it real time. There are people who come back and regret later. Not bad, at least they are able to do that. Some don't even know that, but as we practice and become a master, if we can manage like an online editing, online inspection and manufacturing, if we can do while you are doing the correction work and course correction, you are a master. So broadly, it's about managing self and managing others. In managing self, we need to have self-control. It's the ability to effectively manage your emotions and behaviors. Some people's fuse is very short. The moment you put the fire, they blast. Some people have a long fuse. You cannot provoke them, or even if you provoke them, they don't react immediately. Managing self. Some people, when they are very happy, Inda Muttumale. When they are very unhappy, Pudi out. So others, relationship management is the ability to inspire and influence and develop a relationship with others. Some people have very few relationships, even in families. Very few friends. Very few friendly colleagues. So difficulty with others. So then they lack this part of emotional intelligence, the relationship part with others. So in managing self, there are several things like to manage disappointment. People are always good, but when they are disappointed, they are different. Some people throw, some people sulk, some people tear, some people break down and cry, some people hit, some people drown. Disappointments. It can be +2 results, neat results, or poor performance appraisal in the organization, or not winning a contest. It can be anything. When there is a disappointment, how do you feel? How that affects? Many a times, or most of the times, we forget what emotion we undergo. There are two switches. We have one emotional brain and another rational brain. Emotional thinking, rational thinking. When one is fully charged, the other is fully off. It's like a toggle switch. When one is very emotional, highly emotional, he cannot think rationally. All the energy goes to emotional part of the brain. And when is not emotional at all, he shuts the door completely. The light is bright in the hall of rational thinking. That part of the brain is fully illuminated. Clarity to the core. So managing self, disappointment, greed, fear, rage. In fear, we do many blunders. Rage, kobam, kanna maraikkum. So therefore, one needs to regulate, self-regulation. So not only the emotionally intelligent people understand their emotions, but they can also demonstrate maturity and restraint in revealing them. You may be upset, but how do you reveal? How do you express? There is a difference between emotionally intelligent and not so intelligent. They do not squelch their feelings, instead expressing them in a manner that shows high level of judgment and control. You should drive a vehicle in which you have control. If you get into a very powerful vehicle, whatever powerful vehicle, if you have no control over it to switch it off or reduce the speed or change the direction, then you are in a danger mode. You don't know. The more powerful the vehicle, the higher the danger is without control. And emotions are powerful. And if you have no control, no steering to manage, challenge, danger. How do you express your anger? So then we come to managing others. I'll tell you a small story which I read from Daniel Goleman's book. It was the early days of Microsoft, And Bill Gates, the CEO, founder CEO, was managing a meeting, called for a meeting, and there were several people sitting in the room, and he was shouting full throat, totally unhappy about something that went wrong. And he was in no mood to listen. And only charges, charges, charges. And all those small fries in the room, small guys, much lower in the level, were really frightened, sweating, and dumbfounded with the annoyance of the boss. So they all were just keeping their heads down and keeping quiet. I won't say they were listening. But for one Chinese girl, she alone looked at Bill Gates' face, calm and confidence. And as he was shouting and looking at everybody, the moment he crosses the face of the Chinese girl, was little taken aback, surprised to see a confident and straight-looking face. But he continued his shout. In second round, when he looked at, then he stopped. What? Then she calmly explained that the problem that Bill Gates was complaining about is actually not there, and it has been solved long back. And it's some other thing she says which convinces Bill Gates, brings him down. Then he says, then that's fine, and he goes off. So what do we learn from this incident is that if Bill Gates was shouting, he was emotional. Whereas all other people in the room were also emotional. Though they were all not shouting, they were all under the grip of fear, guilt, anxious, what will happen to their job, or something like that. Whatever is the emotion, emotion is an emotion. It blocks clarity in thinking. And therefore, none of them could think clearly, but the Chinese girl thought. And her change in facial reaction, response, brought this Bill Gates down to earth and made him listen. So therefore, a person who's in full control in any challenging situation is the winner. There is another guy by name James L. Dozier. He was an Italian, he was a great guy in the army. In the year 1981, it seems that he was abducted by Marxist terrorist group. He was under their control, and they were all enjoying that they captured such a big guy. During the first few days of his captivity, the captors were crazed with excitement, he writes, surrounding the event. Dozier saw them brandishing their guns and becoming increasingly agitated and irrational. They were all jumping in joy and doing, and they may, in their craziness, can do some harm to him. So then he realized that he is in great danger. But he recalled that he attended a program on emotional intelligence some time back, where he was taught that he can influence others' emotion. Anybody can influence others' emotions by changing emotions in self. Then he said, then he remembered something he had learned. I need to just tell them. நான் ஒரு மீட்டிங்ல இருக்கேன், நான் முன்னாடி சொல்லியிருந்தேன், மீட்டிங் பேசிட்டு இருக்கேன். So since I have to switch on my phone for the internet, this has happened. So what happened? So then he started behaving very calmly. He will respond with very few words. He will be very quiet. He will not talk much. He will move slowly. But to surprise, he saw people around him also reflected the same feeling and emotion, and they became calm. Some of you would have experienced the same thing in some talk. there are some very smart people. You can now call them emotionally smart people who manage the other person's emotions by changing their emotions. I used to tell people that we can change so others' behavior. This is what this is saying. I used to say people treat us the way they are treating us because the way we behave with them. By changing our behavior, we can receive a different treatment from people. So, to cut it short, we can manage ourselves and also we can manage others by managing our emotions. Because others' emotions, we may think that it's only in their control, but we can bring it to our control also at times. So, emotions are to be managed. If not managed, it can create big problems. Like I said, a few committing suicide, or some people like great cricketer like Sidhu, once in a quarrel in a car park area, hit the other person whom he did not even know, had not met in his life before, hit him hard and that guy died. And that changed the life of Sidhu. He had to go to court even as an MP for very many years. So that was an emotional hijack that happened. He suddenly forgot himself and he did something which became such a big thing in his life, which was not otherwise planned. We see some 12th standard kids, just for the sake of one examination results, they take such a big decision that ends their life. There are people who quit their job. We also often see in some WhatsApp groups, people exit. Some people are removed. It can be as small as this or as big as Siddhartha or cricketer Chandrasekharan's life. There are many people, even Cherian, a great cardiologist, jumped from a multi-story building and ended his life. There are so many cases. So how emotions can damage a person's life. And also we become a person who was not liked within the organization or family because the way we behave with people. At the same time, there are people who have managed to make use of this emotion, like Kapil Dev against Zimbabwe. Many of you may remember. The situation was desperate. India were 9 for 4. And in one of the World Cup matches, he had to get down to bat. And then, as he was there, it was 17 for 5. Thereafter, this Kapil Dev, who was not a specialist batsman, only an all-rounder at best. So he can also bat, but he batted and scored 175 runs, fully charged with emotion. An emotional outburst, I would call that entire innings. And he created a record which not even the specialist batsman had. For a very long time, that was the best cricket score for any batsman in the World Cup. It was an all-rounder. That was made possible because he was very emotional. When you are upset, convert that into an energy. When you are disappointed, convert that into an energy. There is a lot of energy that is created, but channelize it, harness it, and divert it differently, then it becomes your success. So emotional intelligence is, in short, it's a very big subject. I've written different books on that, and then it can go on for a week as training, which I attended in XLRI, but we need to do it in 20-25 minutes. So I have only given you some headlines. So be aware, try to manage, and then over a period, master it. Control your impulses, tolerate stress, empathize with people, build trust, be aware of the political connections and dynamics of organizations or wherever you are, and then manage all that well. So be aware that what is your emotional makeup, what upsets you, etc. Like I said before, and make use of with self-regulation and self-motivation, self-tolerance. You can win anything in life, which is very important. An emotionally well person is, if you want to do a checklist for yourself, self-aware, won't get easily provoked, won't lose school often, is self-motivated, regulate him herself well, understand others' emotional status and empathize, adapt to new circumstances and changes, comfortable with new ideas and people, and have good interpersonal skills. Overall, there are two parts, emotional, rational parts in brain. Emotions are real and powerful. Some are constructive, some are destructive. Emotions can be managed intelligently. Managing self-management and managing others, both are important. Be aware, self-regulation, self-motivation, and then manage others, empathy, trust building. EA is learnable. Unlike IQ, nobody can claim it's inborn and it's already made. One can develop. That's what we say in life. You mature, it's learnable, and some of you at least would have made a beginning today. Thank you.
Sir mentioned the advanced felicitation which was given to Dr. Somavaliappan. So I got the memento from the soft copy of memento from Ashok. I was surprised. That was the meticulous planning of people who work on that. That is the better way I was talking about on the other side of the Meraki. So with that note, we'll move to the next session, table topics. So this is a trademark of Toastmasters. And today, someone who is going to conduct this session, I asked her, what is that you love about Toastmasters apart from learning? She said, like-minded people. And in Meraki, one of the best things, always experimenting new, fresh ideas. As I mentioned,